Morning, everybody. It's the 1st of March. We're Signal Centre talking ball. I'm Joe Neighbour, joined this morning by Steve O'Hare. How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, good morning. A little bit tired because I got up early this morning as Ian's no longer with us. So
Yeah,
I sounded a bit morbid actually.
it
Ian's no
did,
longer
didn't
with
it? I was
us.
going to say,
Something wrong.
just going to clarify, he's not dead. He's
Very much alive.
yeah.
And so yeah, it wasn't too bad. Didn't sleep last night. I was so excited about today.
Oh,
New
really?
week. Yeah, new
Yeah.
week.
You
Lots of
watched Liverpool
volatility.
last night?
Yeah, I did. Maybe that's why I sort of like found it a little bit easier to get up. It was a slightly better performance than it has been against the bottom club in the Premier League.
Yeah. Anything to get your
So
confidence up, eh?
yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to Chelsea on Thursday. Uh,
No.
although sort of Chelsea struggled to find the net as well yesterday.
Yeah, they're unbeaten though since they got their new coach, aren't they?
Yeah, are they? Did they not
Yeah.
have one slip up last week, or did they? No, maybe it was. Did they get a draw?
Yeah, draws and wins they've
Yeah,
had so far.
yeah, okay. Yeah, no, he's yeah, he looks much more animated on the sidelines. It's
Hmm.
Tuchel. Um,
Yes.
yeah, decent coach.
We'll see, won't we? It'll be, the Premier League will find you out if you're not. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure his sort of reputation precedes him. He's knows what he's talking about, but whether he survives, it depends what the team's like and what the atmosphere's like at the club. It's not just
Yeah,
down to the manager. It's I see that
yeah.
Lambert was the Ipswich Town manager this morning.
What was
Oh
that?
no, Lambert, Paul Lambert, he left by mutual consent,
Where was
which is
he?
he was at Ipswich.
Oh,
They
okay.
they just won a couple of games on
Oh
the
God.
bounce. There you go. So a bit odd,
Yeah, it's
but
pretty brutal.
it is. They don't hang about nowadays. A lot of money being thrown about, so
Mm.
everyone expects results, but not everyone can get them.
No. Okay. Well, onto markets this morning. First headline I've seen on the Bloomberg email that we get this morning is the potential for $100 a barrel oil. I saw that it gapped higher this morning or overnight. Bank of America have called crude to hit that level over the next few years. So I mean that's a long old time frame. It's sort of pretty much storming towards that now. But we'll wait and see what happens with that. We'll come into some charts shortly. We had legendary investor Warren Buffett release his famous annual letter highlighting how his firm Berkshire Hathaway has seen its stake in Apple swell to $120 billion. He started purchasing back in 2016. He's only spent $31 billion on it, but obviously due to the insane growth that we've seen in some of these tech stocks, that's how large his position swelled to. Over that period of time, he didn't offer much opinion on anything else like the pandemic or politics. He's 90 years old now, so I can't imagine he wants to get involved in all that sort of
No.
crap. He just, quite happy chilling, I imagine, drinking his Coke and eating his McDonald's. So let him get on with it, I guess. In terms of Golden Globes, that was in the press yesterday, and that's relevant because we saw Disney and Netflix shares climb in pre-market because Disney grabbed the top award for its film Nomadland, and Netflix continues to dominate with TV hits like The Crown and The Queen's Gambit. Back to coronavirus, we've seen 6 cases of Brazilian coronavirus variant has been detected in the UK, a warning that the mutation may be more resistant to vaccines and concerns about how quickly it can be transmitted. So that's a little bit of a concern. A little bit worrying that one of the people that got off the plane from Zurich that had been in Sao Paulo didn't get his contact details, so they're trying to
Yeah.
trace him down and find out who it is, which doesn't doesn't look particularly great, does it, for the UK?
In this Big Brother era, you'd think that would be a little bit easier, but
Yeah,
obviously not.
no. So we've had over 20 million vaccines administered now, so yeah, it's all looking pretty good. Got the scores going back in a week, so one more week of homeschooling, which is good news. And all the kids are getting tested. My daughter's got to go in tomorrow for a test, and then
Yeah,
again on Thursday. So hopefully we can get back to school without any more interruptions going forward.
yeah, yeah. That'd be nice, wouldn't it, for you?
Indeed, it would. Okay, so on to some charts. I'm going to try and do my best to run through some FX markets in the absence of Ian. Normally, he's our go-to for the FX markets and offers a pretty comprehensive view of what's going on in currencies. So I'm going to start today by looking at sort of overview of what's going on with the currencies. This is a number of currency indices all plotted on the same chart. So at the bottom here in blue, we have the dollar index, we have the Japanese index, Swiss currency, euro, Canadian, Aussie, pound, and New Zealand dollar. So clearly, we've seen moves higher in a lot of the what we refer to as riskier assets, so likes of New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar. They've been moving nicely higher. You can see those there in the turquoise and purple. Up there, we've also got the British pound, which continues to move higher as well. And down here, we've got the dollar index, which really has been suffering for a number of months now and been shied away from as people search for riskier assets. But in the last day or so, we've seen a bit of an uptick here in the dollar index. So arguably people moving towards safer haven currencies. And that has also been combined here with a fairly substantial drop back in the Aussie currency and the New Zealand dollar currency. So everything kind of dropping lower really in the last 24 hours against the US dollar. So that may be a theme potentially for the rest of the week. If we look at how things look on a standalone basis with some of these currencies, we've got the dollar index here, which has bounced from a decent 78.6% fib level. That goes back here from the swing lows on the 6th of Jan to those highs on the 5th of Feb. So it's in a nice bounce higher there. And now we're approaching a fairly decent resistance level at 91.05. If we get above the 91.05, then I think there's scope for a continuation higher back to that swing high that we saw in early February at 91.60. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on the dollar index today. I'm not sure what's going to drive that. If there's still, maybe a money coming out of riskier assets like stocks and Aussie and New Zealand dollar, then maybe we'll see that drive higher continue in the dollar index. In terms of what some of the Aussie currencies are doing, just pull up the 4-hour charts here. As you can see, the trend higher has been pretty strong, and we've seen a fairly decent dip back to the lower end of these channels here. We've got some fib levels coinciding with that as well. So are we going to see buyers step back in here for the riskier assets and continue this move higher, or are we starting to see a breakdown now and a reversal potentially forming on these currencies? Similar situation on a lot of the other Aussie markets. Again, you see this steep sell-off back to trend support. Is it going to hold, or is it going to eventually break and lead to a deeper correction? There we have Aussie yen and Aussie dollar, which arguably looks the worst of the Aussie currencies, with a decent break of that channel. And just wondering whether or not that's going to lead to a move lower. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I think there was news out as well last night that the CDC panel recommended the use of Johnson & Johnson's single-shot COVID vaccine.
Okay.
So that clears the way for the distribution of that. I think there's also, they expect 100 million vaccines to be available within a really short space of time. So that sort of could have, obviously leads to the potential of opening up a lot quicker. Johnson & Johnson plans to deliver 100 million COVID-19 vaccine shots to US in the first half of the year. So a boost there from a COVID perspective.
For sure. So got here on the Aussie Euro Aussie chart. I mean, that's a decent rally to trend resistance there, and a failure so far. So maybe a chance for a continuation with these trends and just a little bit of a pullback to on board on a few of those things. What else we got looking decent? Fairly substantial pullback on Euro Swiss. I mean, there's some sort of wild price action on quite a few bits and pieces. Sterling, what's that doing today? Overall looking pretty bullish.
Yeah, I could have a little look at sterling if you want. I was looking at a little bit earlier.
Okay, sure. Let's have a look then. What you got? Bail me out there, Steve, because I didn't really know what I was doing with currencies. I haven't done enough time to chart them up. I'll do a better job tomorrow.
It's all about dovetailing. It's all about dovetailing. I This is a weekly chart on cable, and looks very, very promising, as Joe just said. We've got some divergence here, some bearish divergence, but the real sort of candle I've picked up on was this shooting star candle from last week. Now that's normally a negative candle. To confirm it, we need a negative week this week, and then maybe we'll get a retest of this upward trending support line, which comes in this week at 136.20. So yeah, sort of a bit of a failure. Obviously, this real resistance and the 50% Fibonacci retracement level, 143.45.5, didn't quite get there, but sort of failed just in front of it. So potential for a bit of a retracement there. That obviously coincides with dollar strength. That's on, and you can see on the daily chart, we had a little bit of a forewarning of that when we saw the shooting star formation on the 24th, my birthday, followed by the bearish engulfing candle, and that was a real signal that there could be a little bit of a maybe profit taking, just consolidation in this rally higher. Euro sterling saw the opposite, bullish hammer, so morning star formation, and although we've got this shooting star candle from the from Friday's session, it still looks slightly positive on the euro sterling side of things. So again, potentially weaker sterling going into this week. The other one I was looking at was yen, Aussie yen here. This sort of reversal, the shooting star type candle, not quite a shooting star. The tail's not really big enough, but it has had the same effect. So we've seen a bit of a turnaround in the momentum of this. This is on the daily chart, a reversal from around about 85, and we've just traded down to 82 before a overnight rally. Dollar yen continues to grind higher as dollar bounces back, dollar bites back. Yeah, so commodities, like you mentioned, Joe, oil's had a little bit of a perky move, and let's get the weekly chart on here again. We've talked about a lot of levels. $100 oil, potentially. There's, you know, if we sort of draw a fib from the highs down to here, 61.8, which is a normal correction in markets, isn't beyond the realms of possibility. That takes us to $95.50. We've been talking about an AB equals CD formation correction for a long while now. I still believe in this, so I'm believe it's by the dips in crude oil at the moment. It seems like a natural way to go. And if we hop across to the 4-hour chart, we can see we had this sell-off last week. It didn't really retest the congestion area towards the last week in Feb. Stalled at 61.20, and we've had a nice little bounce overnight gap from Friday to Sunday night's session, and a bit of a continuation higher. Brent crude oil, obviously, seen the same sort of thing, so a nice little gap up. And now we'll see where we go from here. Will we just have this continuation, or will we try and fill some sort of gap? We'll wait and see. Gold. Again, gold, I'll look at the weekly chart first. I think this is a bullish flag. We're trading towards the lower end of the flag. This is the projected move, and this is over a couple of years. So, you know, was it Goldman saying oil to go to $100? Who was it?
Bank of America.
Bank of America. They said oil could go to $100. I'm saying gold could go to $2,500. Not by the end of the year, I don't think, but looking at this potentially sort of into next year, I wouldn't be surprised to see that sort of thing. That would be as a result of maybe a real dollar issue. And on the shorter term charts, I think gold is still slightly under pressure. We've seen a reaction higher from 17.18, which it hit on Friday. It's trading up around about 17.50. I think we've got resistance up to 17.65. So the potential for a stall in this sell-off and maybe a correction higher The 4-hour chart remains bearish, and we've talked about these head and shoulders that nearly played out. But yeah, we're in this still sort of bearish channel type formation here, and really need to get a break above 18.15 to sort of relieve this pressure that we're under at the moment. I think around 1800 will be a psychological level. So yeah, at the moment, really would look to be selling rallies, continue to sell rallies in gold. The hourly chart this morning highlighted another shooting star. Shooting star. I saw that and I thought, might have just done enough. That 1760 is where the stop would be if you set shorts on this candle between 8 and 9 o'clock. So I expect to see a little bit of a drive though, especially if we're getting this dollar uptick to continue.
Yeah.
Copper still in this little bit of a retracement from the highs. I still think there's potential for a drive higher. I think we're looking at 460, well, 468 to 475. But yeah, last week was although it's a positive candle because it opened and closed higher in the week, it only just closed higher. So that formed a shooting star. This week has got off to a little bit more of a positive start. So maybe it will negate this candle, but I think we've got to keep our eye on that and wait to see whether we get a break below last week's low of 406. If we do, then potentially forming a bearish engulfing candle, which could lead to a reversal formation. So watching that quite carefully. Just jump across to indices. Ftse got off to a nice bright start this morning. We can show it on the hourly chart. Closed the week lower last week, and we've had a nice pip up this morning. A little bit more sort of like thoughts turning to the economy's opening up a little bit quicker. COVID vaccine getting rolled out in the UK. Dollar strength obviously leads to a move higher in Ftse because there's a lot of dollar-based companies in there. But we've also seen this rally higher in DAX, CAC, and we've also seen a little bit of an uptick in the Dow Jones. Nasdaq hasn't seen it so much, so maybe these Nasdaq, the tech stocks, will remain slightly under pressure as we start the week, and it's all about the UK and the Europeans having a little bit of a push higher on that. So yeah, good start to the week for indices over here, but still sort of don't know where we're going to get the real next move from in them. Still quite like selling rallies in indices, and I think I also read something this morning that the commodity index, it's the best performance over the last year in 40 years in the commodity index, and so that and when you have a rally like that, S&P eventually has a sell-off. So there's a little bit of, I think we're talking now again about potential for some sort of top in them US equity markets, but I've talked about that for the last 250 years, I think, and it still doesn't seem like it's coming. But
no, I mean, I've always read about sort of the typical characteristics of a bull market is that metals are and commodities are always the last thing to rally, so they're always they have the sort of last push at the end of a bull cycle. So maybe that's the case. Although these cycles are sort of supercharged now, aren't they? They don't last very long. So you have these big boosts up, then you have a big old washout, and then it's back to normal within a couple of months.
Yeah, I think we're now in an era of things happening a lot quicker. So you're predicting moves in the market, and they seem to be happening within hours rather than weeks and months. So it's a new way of having to look at things, I think.
Definitely. Okay, well, the gun to the head trade ideas from Friday sort of finished with a bit of a whimper. We had 3 trades and we were stopped out on all 3 of them. Just to remember what they were, we had, I think I was, long of New Zealand US dollar. Stevie went short of Bitcoin, and Ian went long of Aussie Swiss. So nothing good came of that, unfortunately. Overall, we're still sort of stagnating around current levels. I guess we're going to have to think about what we do now, Steve. That there's only going to be 2 trades a day, and obviously Ian's not going to be taking part. So maybe we have to have a reset.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we could sort of award medals. You know, you get gold, Ian gets silver, I'll get bronze. Don't mind taking a bronze medal. And think about maybe approaching this in a slightly different way. Maybe not so much gone to the head, but more of a real way of how we would set our trade ideas. So look at the trade idea that we really like for the week, and then start it and manage it, and sort of try and think
actual ideas that people can follow, rather
than
exactly
and maybe not so much on an intraday basis, but just on a sort of
trade of the week and follow
trade
it
of
up.
The week. I think trade of the week sounds good. So and then at the end of the week, it's a reset next week. If you hit target or get stopped out, are you allowed another go? Don't know. Have to sort of think about that.
Yeah, let's have a think between us throughout today, and we'll come up with a new plan for that. But today, I want you to give me a trade idea, just so we can keep the momentum going. Have you got anything you fancy this morning?
Well, I suppose
you was talking me into gold when you were going through your charts.
What, talking you into selling gold?
Yeah.
I think sort of the 4-hour chart for me is a really nice shooting star. It sort of failed to break above this swing low here and this congestion here. So that for me sort of screams out maybe. And if we get a little bit of dollar positivity, wouldn't be surprised. So a look at the hourly chart. I'm going to go for that, just in case you do. You can go for it as well if you want. Seems a bit pointless. Right. But I'm going to put the stop at 1761, which it would be a break of the high. Actually, I'll move it slightly higher, 1761.26, only because I like to have round numbers. And why not have a move down to, well, yeah, let's go for this, 1713.26. So selling it here at 1749.26. Stop at 1761.26 and target 1713.26. That would give a risk reward of 3-1, which I quite like for the start of the morning.
Yes, that would do very nicely. Okay, best of luck with that. I can't quite make my mind up what I want to have a look at today. I was sort of talking about $100 oil. I was wondering whether or not this is worth a look. Because obviously we've got this massive gap that's been created on the intraday chart. So oil closed here on Friday at 9 o'clock, but it's opened up here at 1 o'clock this morning. So is there potential for that to move lower to close that gap before then maybe another move higher, or are we actually forming some sort of short-term top here?
I mean, it would form a head and shoulders formation as well. That would.
Yeah, it looks quite neat. I mean, the neat ones often the ones that don't work, but maybe something along the lines of that. Maybe making the right shoulder up here somewhere. Well, I guess I've got to go with that now. I've sort of talked about it. So let's go sell at 65.49. Going to target a gap fill down to 64.16. And I'm going to have a 50 tick stop at 65.99, which isn't ideal, but let's go with that. That's my trade of the day, selling oil. Clearly against the trend, but looking for a gap fill on that this morning.
I quite like a 50-cent sort of stop in oil. It always seems to work a little bit better. Sometimes you can have the stops too tight. Just the way oil moves, I don't think that's a bad shout. If it has the high of the day, then it's obviously got the easy potential to make it back down to then that swing low.
Yeah, so I mean, I could have gone just above the high of the day at 65.75, but I always find you get these sort of maybe retests, flush out, because it's pretty obvious now that there'll be stops there. So just got to go a little bit higher, I guess, and
Yeah,
see
exactly.
how that plays out. Okay, so there's the 2 trades for today. In terms of news and what's out today that could potentially influence these trades, we've got German CPI at 1 p.m. We've then got US ISM manufacturing at 3 p.m. And then we have Japan unemployment rate at 11:30 p.m. So a couple of bits out today. Anything else? That looks to be it, to be honest, unless you've seen anything, Steve.
No, nothing else. No.
Cool.
Enjoy your day, guys.
Yes, have a great day, everybody, and we'll be back tomorrow morning.
Cheers.
Cheers, then. Bye-bye.